Hello everyone. Let's try something new. I actually had a little bit of time for lunch, and so I thought I might try out a few things that I've been tinkering with. On my last review of the RGDS, I pointed out that I followed a guide from TechDweeb in order to put ESDE on the top as well as the ESDE companion on the bottom. And in theory, all of these are tied together. If I tap on the top screen, that's where the control goes to the top screen. Focus. So if I were to launch a game, not everything is scraped. It'll launch here on the top screen. If there was art here, it would have displayed down here, so maybe not the best choice. In theory, if I press and hold the RG button, it's going to go back to ESDE on top as well as the ESD companion on the bottom. I think this is kind of neat. I thought this was a nice trick for the Thor. I like it more than the default experience from Ambernick, and so I thought it might be a good idea to go through a tutorial of how I did this by undoing what I've done and then doing it again. So hopefully those one-time steps I can just recreate. Also got the TrimUI Smart Pro S from the mail from Lit NXT, and I saw on a recent news that Gamehub Lite now supports SD cards. So this is taking much longer than I expected to download. I'm actually not, truth be told, I'm actually not sure. Fix my mic. I'm actually not sure if maybe I have a bum Wi-Fi or if it's just my Wi-Fi connection at home. I know that other devices are faster than this. Unclear. In either case, downloading the new version of Gamehub Lite. Be tinkering with this in the background while playing with other things. So why don't we start by seeing if we can undo what we did with Gamehub. So let's see if we can undo what we did with ESDE and set up again. I'm not going to be able to uninstall and reinstall, but what I might be able to do is let's press and hold. There you go. So I guess if I hold the RG button, it'll go back into the ASOP experience. From here, I just close everything. All right, so we go into settings, apps. Where's the option for home app? Handheld settings, quick launcher. So from here are the option the RG launcher, ESDE companion, ESDE, and Mjolnir. Now Mjolnir is used to tie everything to a button. The other thing here is that see how it says RG launcher? But I've noticed that when I go here into the apps list, RG launcher does not appear. So somehow it's hidden itself from the apps list, but is still available for something like a quick launch. Let's just set it back to that for now and see that this is the default experience. I think what I did is I did my own SD card and loaded up with my own game backups. And so for that, what I think I need to do is go into their settings. What I'm trying to do is refresh the ROM set so that it picks up the games that I actually do have. Tools, scan, ROMs on SD card. There you go. There, from there, you can see, no, still nothing. See, I know I have games on here, but it's not picking it up. So here's my guess. I use the ESDE folder structure. It's entirely possible that this thing is hard-coded to its own folder structure, which is honestly not a great look. Let's go back into the tools and see if we can get it to do it again. Yeah, so the way that they had theirs organized on their own cars, that they put the systems flat on the root of the cars. I don't like that. I like to put things inside of a games directory, as well as inside of a ROMs directory. But you know what? It's not the experience that I want to have anyways. So I guess while we're on this, let's go to the top screen and go to Files. So from here, I had already downloaded ESDE 5.6. Now, the thing about ESDE is that it is, for Android, is locked behind their Patreon page. If you want to keep supporting them, please keep supporting them. I think they're a good service. But if you just want to get access to the build, I think it's like $3 minimum. And then you can unsubscribe so it doesn't charge you again. And then there is an email, there's a URL which they you can put in your email address, and what it'll do is it'll re-email you the newsletter every time there's a new release. I think I started subscribing back when it was in the 30s or the 40s, and since then I've just been hitting that email URL to re-email me whenever they have a new release with the download link. So in theory, you would just come here, tap on each one of these. It's going to say that's already installed. I guess in theory I could update, but I'm already on the latest version. I do not have Obtainium currently set up. I don't even know if that's going to help me with ESDE because it's not in a standard GitHub. But you would go through and install each one of these. The next thing on TechDweeb's guide was launch ESDE. Okay, so press and hold the RG button, it goes back to ASOP. Launch ESDE on the bottom screen. Add your game, scrape your box art, do things so that at least the ESDE companion will look good once it's eventually set up. For that, you would go into Start, and then go into Utilities. No, not Utilities. Other settings. Scroll down, 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 and then here's the two settings that you want. See if I can get this to focus. Good. What you want is enable custom scripts. So let me put these off. These by default, both of these will be turned off. You want to enable custom scripts and enable custom browsing events. In theory, that means that ESD Companion will be able to point, will listen for the events that ESDE is putting out so that it knows when to change its scenes. The next thing, which is going to be difficult to recreate, is the setup process for ESDE. I'm wondering if I can actually, let me see if I can uninstall it and then install it again and see if it forces me to it. Info. Or stop. Uninstall. Okay. I want that. I will say, for whatever it's worth, the ASAP experience, I do appreciate that they have a little dot up here so you can launch things from the top screen too. Let's go to ESD Companion, install. Now, the reason why I want to bring this up is that there's one thing with some accessibility features, but there's also some accessibility features as well as folders you have to point it to. I want to see if it re-prompts me for that or if it's going to use the same data. So yeah, they're definitely taking a cue from Russ from Retro Game Core. It's, yeah, man, I want to do it. The developer here is definitely having some fun. This is annoying. This is a problem which you may face on RGTS too. If you look at TechDweeb's guide, it'll tell you what this is actually saying, but here it's rendering blank. So I would definitely watch his video and go through it. But it is asking me to select the folder. Now, I installed ESDE in the default location, so I could go with use default, but I'm just going to do select folder just in case. In which case, I put it on the, in my case, the RGDS directory, ESDE, scripts, use this folder, allow. Now, I've already did this step to generate the scripts, but you will want to push this. In my case, I'm going to override. It's not going to prompt you for that when you create the scripts the first time. Now what it wants to do is the download media folder. So this is where it's going to get the scrape box art so it can show it on the second screen. Like I said, for me, I installed ESD in the default location. So you know what, let's just use default. Same idea. You would select folder and you select downloaded media in the ESD folder. Select yes, I've enabled scripts. Got it, hooray. Let's see. Oh, let's see. It's waiting for me to launch ESD so it can check the connection. So let's launch that here on the bottom screen. All right. Okay. So, yeah, looks like the connection is set up. Now there's a step here which is missing. It's gonna be maybe a little bit difficult to recreate. So I'm gonna press and hold the RG button. Nope, that sucks. There you go. Now back to the default experience. What you want to do is go into settings, go into apps, select ESD Companion. I think this was set up already before. Let me look at another app to see if that was the issue. So SDE. Because I'm looking for a section where it has 3 dots where I can force enable accessibility features. Go permissions. You go into permissions, then you go into 3 dots. Look at all permissions. What's funny is I think I could actually use this on Gamehub. So people were just offhand. People were complaining on the Gamehub video that they were on a Samsung phone, and it didn't let them see the folders that they needed. So I'm wondering if I can actually recommend this, but I don't see files on here. I see control vibration, Wi-Fi settings. I can't force an app into having access to the file systems. Get out of apps, maybe it's not there. Go into accessibility. So this is what they do in the tech tweet video. In theory, if you go into the accessibility section, you should just be able to check something on and off or to see if it has access to accessibility. My memory is that I had to go somewhere else in order to force it to allow accessibility features. And maybe the issue is that it requested it, and that was why. You know, I'm spending too much time on this. Enabling accessibility features, and then the next thing was installing Mjolnir and then using Mjolnir. So from there, you're going to want to initialize it as Mjolnir as home, grant permissions, I already granted it, enable the accessibility service for Mjolnir. That's done. I think that's what it allows it to automate on your behalf to launch 2 apps at the same time. Initialize home, enable home interception. Let's try test notification. Well, here it says home enabled, so that was already done. So from there, I should be able to press and hold. I think I have to go through this again because I uninstalled. So initialize home. No, it's not the initialization, it's home settings. So I have to check this box to actually put ESD. Now, here's the thing which is a little bit different. Even though if you want ESD on top and the companion on the bottom, this is expecting it to be the Thor, where the screen, the main screen is on top. And in the RGDS, the main screen is on the bottom. So from there, okay. And I think that's behaving the way it is. Let's close everything. So I have to go into settings, handheld settings, quick launcher, Mjolnir. There it is. So press and hold the RG button, launches the ESDE on top and the companion on the bottom. Once that loads, it should be in sync. I don't think I have the exact steps set down, but this is the general idea. Okay, let's see if we have progress on Gamehub Lite. I'd like to get some things downloading in the background. Okay, so that's open. Let's install the latest version of Gamehub Lite. Now, truth be told, I had actually been using Gamehub for most things. I like Gamehub Lite better. I'm going to sign into Steam. Hold on for just one moment. Switch. So I need my phone for this. Games, Steam. I do like QR code sign-in, but I also use my phone for other things, so it can be a little bit disruptive. Okay, so that worked. Okay, so here. All right, it's Gamehub. Let's enter. Now, what do I want to install? So what I want to do is I want to check out the new feature where you're storing to an SD card. So for that, let's open up Christmas present. Christmas present to myself was this SanDisk 2 GB. Storage got expensive, so even during Black Friday, there was not really any deals or sales on SD card storage. Now, this one wasn't at a bad price. Definitely didn't feel like a Black Friday deal, which is when I typically get my big SD cards. Okay, take this. I don't think I have an SD card already in here. If I do, it's probably smaller than I would like. You know what? I do have an SD card in here, so I'm going to play with this for the long term. But let's see if we can get into whatever the settings are. Device center. SD card storage. Let's see if that works. Now, I'm going to do what our old friend Hollow Knight was too big. Why don't we do Spindle? So Spindle was a fun game that I backed on Kickstarter like a million years ago. And if you remember indie game development, everything just takes way longer than you expect. Let's see if this is faster. For whatever reason, this was fast the other day. But I'll get this queued up. And while that is going, hopefully going fast, let's just take a quick look. We'll return back to this later on what's in the box for the TrimUI Smart Pro. This is the Smart Pro S. Now, the reason why I'm interested in the Smart Pro S is because this, from what I can tell, is the most powerful Linux first device that you can get to use Portmaster. I know that there was the Heligali Action Pi, but Heligali Action Pi was a 4x3 screen, which means it's powerful, good for retro games. And almost anything else which is more powerful than this is running Android first. And honestly, that's fine. Like, I like Android, but Android doesn't run Portmaster. Now, the reason why I'm at odds with myself is because Gamehub has kind of taken some of the shine off of Portmaster for me, because I like the ready-to-run games. I really do. I enjoy them. But I probably spent most of my time just getting these, inexpensive, very lightweight Linux devices to run PC games. But now I'm getting access to my Steam library without having to copy files over from my PC over, and also potentially messing that up, having to adjust the scripts. And so there is something very convenient about Gamehub, which is what Portmaster was. I was getting a lot of value out of that from. So while this is installing, let's start with the device. This is similar, let's say maybe a hair thicker, right, than the original Smart Pro. I've had this thing forever and I really like it. Is incredibly lightweight. Also something incredibly lighter than any Android device that you could play with. Big screen, 720p. Now at the time, 720p widescreen was a big deal around the time when this was released. It meant you could play those, again, Portmaster games in a higher resolution than you could do from any other device. This is also the era like the 353 series from Ambernick. I think at the time it was like Powkitty X55 is the best that you could do. And that was a good device. Honestly, it had 2 gigabytes RAM. It was probably one of the better Portmaster devices you can get. But this is more pocketable, and I just like the more svelte form factor. But this game, I put Super Mario Bros. Remaster on this recently, and it's playable. It's fine. But you could also see the frame rate tipping, like it was struggling. So one of the things which I really want to do is do that side load of Super Mario Bros. Remastered on this, as well as any other Portmaster games. Which, again, as unfortunately, it's still limited to 1 gigabyte of RAM. 2 gigabytes would have been better because it does open up the door for more advanced games. But for 1 gigabyte of RAM and a more faster processor, I want to see what else this can do with Portmaster. I did already put the SureWish SD card on here. And I will note, I tried. I really wanted to follow a guide and then start from scratch. I don't know. I think this is the one I was tinkering with. Start from scratch with my own SD card that I'll build from the firmware that you download from the website. Their base assets as well as upgrading the firmware. At this point, it's fine. Other people have done it. I'm going to blame it on the SD card. Maybe there was just something wrong or corrupt about that SD card because it wouldn't load, it wouldn't boot. I thought, okay, maybe there's something wrong with my device. As soon as I put the SureWish card in. Now, this is not the reason to get the SureWish card. All I'm saying is that on my first attempt to do it myself, it didn't work. So let that load. Let's check on this. That weird scanning that was doing, that's a thing which I guess is on this panel to prevent it from having image retention. I think I was told this is the same panel which is on the Thor. I haven't seen my Thor do that yet, but also I haven't left my Thor idle that much. Whenever I'm done with it, I'm always closing the clamshell shut. So this is still having fun installing a base component. It's stuck. I can hear it making noise, so it's not frozen. But that's taking longer than expected. Okay, so let's return to this. Yep, image retention. Scan. Put it up here. Oh, okay. I guess we'll be taking a look at this later. I had just enough battery to turn on. Thought I had this charged. Good news is that we have plenty of other stuff to do. While I'm waiting for that to install, let's go back to the RGDS. One of the things which I wanted to show off was the multitasking experience. So I didn't put this in the video. I wish I'd captured this in the video, but I think I was playing King of Fighters 2003. It seemed like it was one of the more, listen how loud those buttons are. Jake. Let's just do any Fatal Fury and see if it recreates the same issue. So on the top screen, I was playing a Neo Geo game. I thought, let me try multitasking. So here on the bottom screen, I guess you can use this as a file launcher. I wanted to open up Chromium. I think I still have it in my history. Let's see, can I watch my own videos while I'm playing up top? Well, up top, you can see this is already maybe that's a RetroArch thing, honestly, I don't know. Because that is one issue with the home button, is that I actually was doing something on the bottom screen and it killed it. But just relaunch, tap up here to get back to the top. Now what I'm testing to see here is while I'm looking at the bottom screen, watching a video, it's playing in Chromium, If I play a game on the top screen, you know what? Let's do something more intense. So let's do Nintendo 64. But we know that doesn't play well with Nintendo 64 in general, so we'll try to pick something relatively lightweight. Let's just do Mario 64 because we know that that plays. We know what the performance of that should be on something like the 3566. Turn up the volume. The thing which is especially special about the N64, yeah, you hear that chugging? The sound chip was running off the CPU. It didn't have its own sound chip. So whenever there is slowdown, you can always hear it in the sound. So listen to that. Now, let's turn off the browser. Well, it's not perfect. See how it already got better? The sound already sounds better. So the device is just not great for multitasking. Yes, I'll put that aside, put the volume down. This intro takes a while. Let's go get Gamehub Lite using the SD card. Now, this is not a heavyweight game. We're just checking to see if it works and if the performance is horrendous. So one thing right there, it didn't launch. At this point, I don't actually know if it's because of the SD card or Gamehub Lite because I didn't have this installed previously. Right, let's just try something very, very lightweight. Let's try Wolf 3D. In theory, this will download quickly. If this can launch, then anything can launch. Okay, it says SD card. It's an SD card logo, but even this isn't launching. Okay, so maybe it's the SD card. I guess one way we can see is if we turn the SD card storage off. Now my guess is it's gonna have to re-download. We have to uninstall it and then reinstall it. Okay. Okay, something's up. Maybe it's the SD card, maybe it's not. So in theory, I disabled SD card storage. We have to exit this and come back to it. See, SD card storage is turned on. Turn off. Back. Turned on. Well, that's fun. Well, again, beta software, RC. Maybe that's a bug. It's hard to tell. Go back. Or maybe the issue is that I still have things installed on the SD card. Okay, so let me uninstall everything. Okay. Nope, still enabled. Wouldn't surprise you if I actually need to uninstall and reinstall. We're going to try that next. Yep. All right, let's uninstall and reinstall. Open. agree. I'll have to sign into Steam again, but let's see. Settings. SD card storage is off. Okay. I'm going to sign into Steam one more time. And let's see if we can install any of those games and they work. Mario's sleeping. Sorry, dude. Yep, this takes forever. All right. Switch here. Take this off bottom screen for a second. Now, what we're doing for folks who have just joined is we're showing that the RGDS has performance issues if you're trying to like watch a YouTube video or browse web pages while also playing something more than 16-bit. It's like N64 games, the sound starts to sound bad. I tested this with Neo Geo when I was doing my review, and I definitely saw a big performance difference when the browser was on or not. So it's just not good for multitasking. Like maybe you can pull up a web page with game facts, but you can't pull up a video. The camera is off right now because I'm using my phone to sign into Steam using Gamehub Lite. And we just tested Gamehub Lite and using the SD card as storage, and the game failed. And so what we're trying to do now is uninstall Gamehub Lite, reinstall it, and see if those exact same games will work without storing to the SD card. So I can't tell at this point if it's a compatibility issue with the games, which shouldn't be because I think I've launched them before on like regular Gamehub, or if it's an issue with using the SD card storage. Let me see. Camera back on. Mario. I'll try to launch something else and see if the performance takes there later, but as you know, the intro for these games take forever. Yes, Bowser, stop talking. Nobody wants to hear you anyways, unless you're Jack Black, in which case that's fun. All right, enter. So we tried earlier, it was just something very lightweight, Wolfenstein 3D. I'll try it again, install. Yep, let's take a moment. We may need to down the environment, the firmware, so it's gonna have a few more downloads for the environment and firmware. Let me switch back to live stream cam. That should just take a moment. Okay, so Mario, let me turn the volume back up because again, you can hear it from the sound when something is acting up. Let's go up here to the top. So you know what, it didn't, I'll say, one thing I noticed that it didn't always do this consistently. If you switch focus, sometimes it pauses the game, sometimes it doesn't. It's probably emulator dependent. So where are we right now? This is RetroArch. So it'll hit the pause button for RetroArch, but I was in Dreamcast, Flycast, I think, and it did not pause the game when I switched screens. See, even, you know, forget an FAQ. Even opening the browser, this thing is chugging. So I don't recommend playing anything 16-bit and above. I can hear it a little bit, but it's not that bad. Game, try game FAQs. All right, game FAQs. Now the question is, can I pull up? I have to be the keyboard. It's probably me. I don't want to blame the keyboard. It's probably me. I'm not that much better on my phone. Okay. Let's just say for a moment, if you were to pull up any one of these guides. Yes, yes, yes. It's like looking at one of those recipes online. You have to scroll all the way to the bottom to get to the actual thing. Guides. How is this doing? Did this download the environment? Accept cookies. I'm not in Europe. Shouldn't be an issue. All right, so this is crashing again. So maybe this is a Gamehub Lite issue. Let's check actually. I have regular old Gamehub. Yes, I know I'm a bad person for having real Gamehub installed. It means that I must be supporting an evil empire. I can't tell which empire is evil anymore. I think they all are. And let's go into Steam. And what do we say we're going to do? Wolf 3D. If it installs here, then maybe Gamehub Lite is the issue. In the case, we have, let's pick up any one of these. Fine, walk through. So in theory, one of the things that we solicit is that, hey, you could have a guide set up while playing a game. Okay. Guide's not bad. YouTube is not, you cannot look up a YouTube video while playing. We saw earlier that that was causing the top screen to chug. Now, it did look like it was fine for regular Nintendo and Super Nintendo. Or at least I tested with regular Nintendo, so let's try that. So we're going to use the trick that we told earlier. Let's press and hold home button, and there we go. Tech Dweebs. Didn't work. The automation didn't work as well. So Tech Dweebs thing of you press and hold this button, and then it launches ESD Companion on the bottom and ESD on top. That still works. That's neat. You know what, did I? Sorry, I'm still relatively new to this live streaming thing. I have not been looking at a chat at all because I cannot find the window for it. I don't have another device right now. I apologize. I will set up chat in the future. Why don't you just give me an option to open up chat? It's okay. What do we say? We were going to test, let's test Super Nintendo and a browser on the bottom to see if it can handle that. Castlevania. So I guess is that it's still stuck on the last game. Which was still stuck on the last game that I was playing. That's why it didn't launch. So now let's do it again. Okay. Battery saver. Here's another thing I guess I forgot to do. Turn battery saver on. All right. Let's go back to Game FAQ. So let's pretend that this is actually a guide from R64, but let's pretend this is a guide for Castlevania. What I want to, actually no, what I wanted to see was YouTube. So will a YouTube video cause Super Nintendo to chug? Hey, my DS review. And push the top screen in order to get the focus back onto the top. Oh, that's fun. It's actually changing sound. I want to turn the volume down on this. I don't want this to be this loud right now. You know what? Turn this down. Do not see a volume control directly on the YouTube video. To collapse it. I swear on the PC, there's always like something so you can, there's a slider for the volume. Whatever, so that's going. That's just touch the top screen. So yeah, passing the test. Looks like 16-bit is fine. So while that's going, let's install Wolf 3D on Gamehub proper, because on Gamehub Lite, even lightweight games were not working. Tap here. Tap here. Oh, that's fun. All right. One thing I think you can do is if you hit the RG button, it's supposed to swap control back and forth. So you see how the little like circle, which is enclosing, tells you which window has focus. Let's probably pause. Let me hit the unpause button. Yeah, there we go. So we're good now. And this feels full screen to me, full speed to me. So 16-bit, you can have a YouTube video and play retro games at the same time, but not with N64, not with Neo Geo, not with anything that has any kind of intensity. So I'm guessing similar to what we've always been told, like for this chipset and chipsets like it, it is 16-bit. That's where your performance expectation should be. Don't set it any higher. I will say this is a good device for Nintendo DS, and I think I put that in the review. Nintendo DS without any kind of upscaling, without any kind of high resolution 3D, things like that, or high resolution. Technically speaking, it probably isn't as crisp as it should be. It is 2.5 scale, which means it's not going to be a full integer scale. Look, I got bad eyes. I can't see the difference that clearly. I'm sure if I were to have the two side by side, I could notice it, but what I will say is that it doesn't deter my enjoyment of the games, for whatever that's worth. Yeah, so 16-bit works. Let's go return back to the Odin 3. So we had 3 things we want to check out. I have to debug the SD card storage. That's, yeah, I'll put that down there. Pause this video, pause the game, so that that's getting a little bit less activity. Now, let's play now on Gamehub. I'm on regular Gamehub. Again, I'm on regular Gamehub right now because Gamehub Lite crashed. That's fun. It is using a little icon. I thought the little icon was for SD card storage. I guess not. It's just the... And it crashed. Well, it got further than it did on regular Gamehub. So I don't know if that's an issue with this. That said, I think... Let's try this one more time, and then I think I already had Spindle, that indie game that I backed on Kickstarter, like I said, already installed on this. Let's see if that launches without an issue. Okay. Early days, people. Early days. Spindle. Yeah, they'd have this queued up because I think before I saw that SD card storage was supported on Gamehub Lite, my plan was just do a Gamehub testing. Yeah, I failed to sync with Steam Cloud. That's fine. My plan was just to load up some pre-downloaded games on Gamehub proper and test them out on the Odin 3. I will say the Odin 3 is, I have it. It is not my go-to system. My go-to system is still the AY and Thor. If I want to sit down and play something which I feel like is way less of a hassle, but what I've been seeing so far is that more videos are coming out, even from my own testing. The Odin 3 is pretty neat when it comes to Gamehub. Like I think I was told that the turnip drivers, the RC of the turnip drivers were released recently. They're not ready yet. They're not even close, but the fact that they exist means that there's going to be progress there. Slow and early days for the Odin 3, or actually the Odin 3 like Snapdragon Elite line of devices. We'll see if it gets better. My memory is that when the Odin 2 launched, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 was already pretty well established, and so it was it didn't have these kind of hiccups, didn't have these sort of performance and support issues off the bat. So that's crashing too. I will say it is getting further than it did on Gamehub Lite, but both these are crashing, and so I cannot make a conclusion yet if the issue is with the SD card storage or if the issue is with Gamehub Lite or Gamehub proper. I'm going to use the recommended one. Still loading. Nothing new. Okay. Well, at least something is working. I just loaded up Mega Bonk. This isn't the first time I've ever played it, but I think we have proven that at least something can load. Default, yes, yes, yes. Something is working. I just loaded up Mega Bonk. See what happens when you get hit. Let's just let the character die. Yeah, looks like something coming. There we go. Well, my lunch break is over. Thank you, ready for hanging out with me for a little bit. I got through a few things. Still have to debug SD card storage on. Still have to debug SD card storage on Gamehub Lite. See what's going on there. Thanks for watching.